Introduction to Natural Resources, Chapter 3, Lesson 2. What are natural resources? Did you turn on a light or use an alarm clock today? Flush a toilet or take a shower? Ride in a car or bus? Eat some food? Use any paper other than this page that you are reading right now? All of these things and so much more depend on Earth's resources. Recall that anything that occurs naturally in the environment and is used by people is called a natural resource. Natural resources include organisms, water, sunlight, minerals, and oil. Renewable resources. A renewable resource is either always available or is naturally replaced in a relatively short time. Some renewable resources, like wind and sunlight, are almost always available. Other renewable resources, like water and trees, are renewable only if they are replaced as fast as they are used. Non-renewable resources. Over millions of years, natural processes changed the remains of organisms into the substances now called oil and coal. Today's world is powered by these fuels. Humans use these resources much faster than they are naturally replaced. Resources that are not replaced in a useful time frame are non-renewable resources. Metals and minerals are also non-renewable. Remember that some resources, such as trees, may be renewable or non-renewable, depending on how quickly they are replaced. Why are natural resources important? Humans cannot live without some natural resources, such as sunlight and fresh water. Others, such as metals, are necessary to sustain modern life. Humans depend on Earth's natural resources for survival and for development. How people use resources. Around the world, people rely on natural resources for the same basic needs. Not all resources are equally available in all parts of the world. In some areas, there is a plentiful supply of clean, fresh water. In other areas, water is scarce. In some places, pollution threatens the water supply. Globally, fuels are used for cooking, heating, and power. Different fuels are common in different parts of the world. Coal is plentiful in some areas of the world, and oil is plentiful in others. In some areas, wood is the main fuel, not coal or oil. Sustainable use. How long a resource lasts depends on how people use it. Sustainable use of a resource means using it in ways that maintain the resource at a certain quality for a certain period of time. For example, a city may want to manage a river. Does the city want the water to be clean enough to drink or clean enough to swim in? Does the city want the water to be clean for 50 years, 200 years, or indefinitely? The answers to these questions define what would be considered sustainable use of the river. However, it may not be sustainable from an ecological perspective even if it meets human needs. Other cities farther down the river may have different answers to those questions, but their plans could also be considered sustainable if they met their goals. Because of these differences, policymakers and lawmakers struggle to define sustainable use. The struggle adds to the challenge of regulating resources. Ecological footprint. The amount of land and water that individuals use to meet their resource needs and absorb the wastes they produce is called an ecological footprint. A high-level resource use means a larger footprint. A low level of resource use means a smaller footprint. Conservation. While we cannot avoid using resources, there are better ways to use them. Resource conservation is the practice of managing the use of resources wisely so the resources last longer. Conservation cannot make resources last forever, but it can make resources last longer. Governments and industries greatly affect resource conservation. Even individuals can make a difference. Walking, riding a bike, or riding the bus conserves fuel resources. People can also conserve resources when they turn off lights and unplug equipment that they are not using. Taking shorter showers saves water. When many people make small changes, the results can be huge.